At 18,000 feet above sea level, the facility studied high-altitude adaptations in both humans and the mysterious entities that had recently made contact with Earth. "First time meeting the Titan delegation?" asked pilot Marcus Chun, noticing her nervous energy. Elena nodded. 3 months ago, beings calling themselves Titans had arrived, not from space, but from deep within Earth's unexplored cave systems. They were massive, standing 12 to 15 feet tall, with crystalline skin that shimmered like mountain stone. Most humans found them intimidating, but Elena saw them as the discovery of a lifetime. The helicopter landed on the station's reinforced platform. Alana gathered her equipment's specialized sensors, designed to study the Titan's unique physiology. She was the world's leading expert in gigantism, having spent years studying how large mammals adapted to extreme environments. Inside the station, Director Sarah Kim briefed her on the situation. "The Titans have been cooperative, but they're struggling with our facilities. Everything's too small for them. They can barely fit through our reinforced doorways." Elena's first glimpse of Kestra, the lead Titan researcher, took her breath away. The being sat hunched in the station's largest room, her massive frame folded uncomfortably as she worked on tablet-sized devices that looked like toys in her enormous hands. Her crystalline skin caught the light, creating patterns like aurora across the walls. "Dr. Vasquez," Kestra's voice rumbled like distant thunder, "I apologize for the accommodation difficulties. We understand if our size makes collaboration impossible." Elena stepped forward without hesitation. "Impossible? You're the most fascinating research partner I've ever had the chance to work with." The other scientists, Dr. James Wright, Dr. Aisha Okafor, and Dr. Liu Wei, kept their distance, but Elena approached Kestra directly. She noticed how the Titan's shoulders relaxed slightly at her words. "We're studying high-altitude adaptation," Elena continued, "and you've evolved in high-pressure, low-oxygen cave systems. Your physiology could revolutionize our understanding of human potential." Kestra's crystalline features shifted. What Elena would learn was equivalent to a smile. "Most researchers see only obstacles in our differences." "I see possibilities," Elena replied, already sketching modifications to the lab in her mind. "We'll make this work." As evening fell over the Himalayas, Elena found herself thinking about how Kestra had apologized for her size, as if being magnificent was somehow wrong. The research ahead would be challenging, but Elena sensed something deeper brewing between them, something that transcended the physical differences everyone else saw as barriers. Outside, the wind howled against the mountain peaks, but inside, an unlikely partnership was beginning to form. 2 weeks into their collaboration, Elena and Kestra had established a routine that amazed the other researchers. Elena had redesigned the lab equipment to accommodate both their needs. Elevated platforms allowed her to work at Kestra's eye level, while reinforced surfaces supported the Titan's massive frame. "The seismic readings from the lower caves are unusual," Kestra rumbled, her subsonic voice making Elena's bones vibrate pleasantly. They were studying geological data from the Titan territories, vast cavern systems that stretched deeper than any human had explored. Dr. Wright interrupted their work, his face pale. "We've got a problem. The Chinese expedition that went missing last month, we've detected their emergency beacon, but it's coming from 30,000 feet down in the Titan caves." Elena felt Kestra's massive hand tense on the table. "That depth, it's beyond our normal territories. A pressure would crush any surface dweller." "Not if they reached an air pocket," Elena said, studying the data. "But the rescue equipment we have can't handle those depths." Director Kim called an emergency meeting. The room buzzed with tension as various rescue scenarios were discussed and dismissed. The depths were too extreme, the passages too narrow for conventional equipment, and time was running out. "We could modify the deep-sea pressure suits," suggested Dr. Okafor, but someone would need to guide the rescue team through unfamiliar tunnels. All eyes turned to Kestra, who had remained silent. Elena watched her friend's crystalline skin dim a sign of distress she'd learned to recognize. I could guide a rescue mission, Kestra said quietly. But human equipment isn't designed for someone my size. The tunnels that would accommodate me are too dangerous for humans. What if we didn't have to choose? Elena stood suddenly, her mind racing. Kestra, could you carry modified equipment? Something designed around your physiology rather than fighting it? Dr. Chun, who had joined the meeting, leaned forward. You're talking about a human riding with a Titan into those depths. The pressure, differentials alone, would be manageable in a specially designed pod, Elena finished. We build a rescue capsule that works with Kestra's natural abilities instead of against them. The room erupted in protests, but Elena pressed on. Kestra knows those caves better than anyone. Her physiology is adapted for extreme pressure. And if we design the equipment correctly, we could use her size as an advantage rather than seeing it as a limitation. Kestra's massive head turned toward Elena, her expression unreadable. You would trust me with your life? I already do, Elena replied without hesitation. Every day we work together, I trust you. This is just deeper trust. For the first time since Elena had met her, Kestra's crystalline skin brightened, creating beautiful patterns across the walls. Then we saved them together. As the team began emergency preparations, Elena caught Kestra's eye. In that moment, she realized their partnership had evolved beyond professional collaboration. They were becoming something unprecedented a team. That turned supposed disadvantages into strengths. The rescue mission would test everything they'd learned about working together, but Elena had never felt more confident in her life. Asterisk, the descent began at dawn. Elena sat secured in the specially modified pod attached to Kestra's chest, a design that allowed the Titan's natural movements to power their descent while protecting Elena from the crushing depths. Dr. Wright and Dr. Liu monitored from base camp, their voices crackling through the communication system. 15,000 feet and descending, Elena reported, watching the pressure readings climb. Kestra's vital signs are steady. The Titan moved with surprising grace through passages that would have required explosive widening for human teams. Her crystalline skin began to glow more brightly as they descended, apparently a natural response to the increasing pressure. Elena, Kestra's voice resonated through both the cum system and Helena's bones. I should tell you, no Titan has ever gone this deep with a surface dweller. My people warned this was dangerous. Dangerous for whom? Elena asked, checking their equipment readings. Everything was functioning perfectly. For you, Kestra replied quietly. If something happens to me, you would be trapped. Elena was quiet for a moment, processing this. They passed through a chamber filled with bioluminescent crystals, casting ethereal light patterns across the walls. Kestra, do you know why I chose to specialize in gigantism research? Because you found large organisms fascinating? Because I found their isolation heartbreaking, Elena answered. Every massive creature I studied, blue whales, giant sequoias, elephant seals, they were magnificent, but often alone. Size became a barrier to connection rather than a strength. At 25,000 feet, they encountered their first major obstacle. A cave-in blocked the main passage, leaving only a series of narrow tubes that split in multiple directions. The beacon signal is coming from there. Elena pointed to the smallest opening. But it's barely wide enough for you, and the walls are unstable. Kestra's hand gently touched the pod. Elena, perhaps this is where we acknowledge our limitations. Or where we get creative. Elena activated her tablet, showing Kestra the sonar readings. Your crystalline skin, it resonates with the cave walls, doesn't it? Could you use those vibrations to stabilize the passage as we move? Kestra's features shifted, in what Elena had learned was surprise. "You want me to sing us through?" "I want you to use every gift you have," Elena replied. "Your size, your abilities, your knowledge. Stop seeing them as problems to solve and start seeing them as tools to save lives." As Kestra began to emit low frequency harmonics, the cave walls responded, their crystalline structure resonating and strengthening. They moved through the passage like a living geological survey, with Kestra's natural abilities turning a death trap into a navigable tunnel. "Base camp, this is Elena. We've reached 30,000 feet. Beginning final approach to the beacon location." "Copy that," Dr. Wright's voice crackled back. "Your life signs look good, but we're showing some unusual energy readings from your location." Elena smiled, watching the play of light across Kestra's skin. "Those aren't malfunctions. That's just Kestra being amazing." They were close now. The rescue that everyone said was impossible was about to become reality. Asterisk. The trapped expedition members were found in an air pocket within a cathedral-sized cavern, their emergency shelter barely intact after 3 weeks underground. Dr. Sarah Martinez and her 2 graduate students, Alex Kim and Maya Patel, were conscious but hypothermic, their supplies nearly exhausted. "Thank God," Dr. Martinez whispered as Elena's pod detached and she began her medical assessment. "But how did you—" She stopped, staring up at Kestra's massive form. "Meet Kestra," Elena said, checking Maya's pulse. "Our partner and the reason we could reach you." The rescue should have been straightforward, but as Elena worked to stabilize the survivors, alarms began sounding from her monitoring equipment. The cavern system was unstable. Their arrival had triggered microfractures that were spreading through the ceiling. "We need to leave now," Elena announced, but as she turned to Kestra, she saw her friend hunched over, her crystalline skin flickering dimly. I'm too big," Kestra said, her voice smaller than Elena had ever heard it. "The passages we used to descend, they've shifted. The way out is too narrow now. You should take the survivors and go." "Leave me, Dr. Martinez." And her students looked between Elena and Kestra in confusion. But Elena felt a surge of anger that surprised her. "Absolutely not," she said firmly, climbing up to reach Kestra's face level. "We came down together, we go up together." "Elena, be practical. 3 lives are more important than 1. 4 lives are more important than 0, Elena shot back. "And I'm not leaving without you." Elena activated her tablet, running calculations. The ceiling fractures were spreading, but they followed the crystalline veins in the rock veins that matched the frequency patterns Kestra had used during their descent. "Kestra, what if you didn't just sing to stabilize the walls? What if you sang to reshape them?" "Reshape?" Kestra's skin brightened slightly. "Elena, that would require more harmonic energy than I've ever attempted. It could bring down the entire mountain. Or it could save 5 lives, Elena replied. "You keep saying you're too big, like it's a limitation. But your size means you have more lung capacity, more resonance, more power than any smaller being could ever generate. Use it." Around them, the survivors watched in amazement as Elena climbed onto Kestra's shoulder, placing her hand against the Titan's neck. "I'll monitor the frequencies," Elena explained. "My equipment can track the harmonic patterns and help you fine-tune them. We'll do this together." Kestra closed her eyes and began to sing not the gentle harmonics she'd used before, but something deeper and more powerful. The cavern walls responded, crystal formations shifting and realigning. The narrow passages began to widen, rock flowing like liquid under the precise frequency manipulation. Elena watched her instruments, hauling out adjustments. Lower on the 3rd harmonic. "That's it. The North Passage is opening." As they worked together, Elena realized that everyone, herself included, had been thinking about Kestra's size all wrong. It wasn't about accommodation or limitation. It was about possibility. Kestra wasn't too big for their world. Their world had been too small for her potential. Passage is clear, Elena announced. Everyone, prepare for ascent. As Kestra gently gathered the survivors and began their journey to the surface, Elena felt something shift between them, a recognition that went beyond professional partnership, or even friendship. They had just accomplished the impossible together. Part 5. Love Without Limits. The rescue made international headlines, but Elena barely noticed the media attention. She was focused on Kestra, who had withdrawn since their return to the surface. The Titan spent her time in the modified sections of the research station, avoiding the common areas where the other researchers gathered. She saved 4 lives, Dr. Wright said during a team meeting, but she's acting like she did something wrong. Elena found Kestra in the station's largest observation room, staring out at the Himalayan peaks through reinforced windows designed to accommodate her height. The rescue was a success, Elena said, approaching carefully. The survivors are all stable. Dr. Martinez is already planning to publish papers on the geological formations you showed us. I nearly brought down the mountain, Kestra replied without turning around. I lost control of the harmonics twice. You could have been killed, but we weren't, Elena said firmly. We saved lives, together. Kestra finally turned, and Elena saw something in her expression she'd never seen before, vulnerability mixed with something deeper. Elena, these past weeks working with you, I've felt things I never expected to feel. But look at us. She gestured to her massive frame, then to Elena's smaller form. I'm too big. No one could love my size. I take up too much space, require too much accommodation. I'm a burden to anyone who cares about me. Elena felt her heart breaking. Without hesitation, she climbed the platform to reach Kestra's eye level, then stepped forward and wrapped her arms around the Titan's massive neck, holding her as tightly as she could. You're not too big, Elena whispered. You're exactly the right size. Your size saved lives. Your size makes beautiful music. Your size means you have a bigger heart, and I love every inch of you. Kestra's crystalline skin began to glow, creating patterns of light that filled the observation room like aurora. Her massive arms carefully encircled Elena, holding her with infinite gentleness. How could this work? Kestra asked quietly. The practical problems. The same way everything else has worked, Elena replied, pulling back to look into Kestra's eyes. We adapt. We innovate. We see opportunities where others see obstacles. Love isn't about matching proportions. It's about matching hearts. 3 months later, Elena and Kestra were presenting their joint research to the United Nations Scientific Council. Their findings on harmonic resonance had revolutionary applications for everything from construction to medicine. But more importantly, their partnership had inspired a new wave of human-Titan collaboration. The question isn't whether differences can be overcome, Elena told the assembly, standing on a platform that allowed her to present alongside Kestra as equals. The question is what incredible things become possible when we embrace those differences as strengths. After the presentation, as they walked through Central Park using paths that had been widened to accommodate Titan visitors, Elena reflected on how much had changed. The world was adapting to include beings of all sizes, and love, as always, was leading the way. So, what's our next project? Kestra asked, her voice creating pleasant harmonics that made nearby trees rustle. Elena smiled, taking Kestra's massive hand in both of hers. How about designing a world where everyone fits perfectly, exactly as they are? Together, they headed toward a future where love had no size limits. Asterisk.